Hello. All right, chapter 13. Let's get on with it. Okay. Let me turn it off actually. Second. Oh man. All right. Let's go on to evidence for evolution. One of my favorite chapters. Okay. So evolution uses scientists use a geological timescale to divide the history of the Earth into eons and eras. Okay. So you can see all the eons here, and then within the eon you can see the eras. Okay. But don't worry about any of that. Okay. Um, the clues for evolution are easy to find. Okay, and you can see like these like eras and stuff. So okay, you can see all the what the evidence is for each part. Okay. There's a mountain of evidence supporting the idea of common descent. Okay, let's start from the earliest of evidence of life being 3.8 million years ago. So here's the common ancestor. So bacteria, archaea, eukarya. The common ancestor of all life began about 3.8 million years ago. There's some really cool evidence that suggested it started a little earlier than that, but generally around 4 million years is the accepted figure. Okay, so paleontology is the study of past life. Okay, this is where I wish we were actually on campus. When we were on campus, I could actually show you all these fossils that I have. Okay, so fossils are remains of ancient organisms provided the original evidence for evolution. So we see these things that are no longer really alive, like from dinosaurs to trilobites, all these other things. And most people think fossils are like shells and bones, but that's not the only thing that's a fossil. Okay. First of all, we have these plant imprintations. We have actual petrified wood. We have poop. This is really dinosaur poop, stuff like that. Okay. All right. So fossils include any evidence of an organism from more than 10,000 years ago. And they're found all over the world and represent all the major groups of organisms. Okay. Fossils record evolution. Okay, so fossils provide a collection of ancient remains, animals, and microbes. They also allow researchers to test predictions about evolution. Okay, these marine fossils are common in central United States, indicating that this was an area once covered by ocean. There was once a very shallow ocean that ran across what is now the central United States, the Utah, Montana, Idaho, etc., etc. Okay, down in New Mexico or stuff like that. So yeah, you can find a lot of trilobites and other corals and other stuff. Okay, in that area. Okay, so this dinosaur, Prototherex, has beak and feathers. So transitional fossils are the link that demonstrate common ancestry. And as soon as Darwin came up with the theory, we started finding evidence of these fossils that matched the theory. Okay, one of the reasons why we know that the theory is true is because they match, like the data actually matches the theory. Okay. So what makes this kind of transitional fossil is that it has other features in it that make it a reptile. Like this long chevron tail, okay, makes it a reptile. Like the claws on this bird are all facing forward. They're not bird claws where one's behind it and stuff. Okay. So the claws are different. The beak actually has little teeth in it if you look very closely. Okay. Um, okay. Okay. Finding a complete collection of transitional fossils is rare. You don't fossilize very often. Okay. Fossils are often destroyed, and some might not have actually been found yet. So we're finding more and more fossils every day. Okay. Okay. So relative dating assumes that lower. So basically, what happens is erosion, and so lower layers end up on older layers end up on the bottom, and then new layers cover them, and then newer layers cover them. So as you go down, so this is Grand Canyon, right? So the lower layers is going to be older than the newer layers, etc., etc. Okay, that's relative dating. Okay, absolute dating estimates possible age using chemistry. Okay, one of the best ways to use chemistry is radioactive isotopes. Okay, since they decay at a steady known rate. Okay. Okay, fossils are dated by measuring the amount of isotope C14. Okay, so so what happens is when you're alive, you breathe in a certain amount of C14. Okay, C14 is the atmosphere, it's all over the atmosphere. So when we breathe in it. And when we eat. Okay, and it's incorporated into our bones and everything, and therefore there's a certain amount of C14. Okay, once we die, however, we don't breathe in anymore or we don't eat anymore, so that level of C14 remains stable. But it degrades over time, and the amount that it degrades tells you how old something is. Okay. Okay. So the concept of a half life. Okay, a half life. So a radioactive isotope with a 2,500 year half life means that in 25,000 years, okay, that you will have half the amount of the radioactive isotope as before. So in 50,000 years, you'll have 1/4. In 75,000 years, you'll have 1/8. And then in 100,000 years, you'll have 1/16. Okay. Okay. Biogeography considers species um, geographical locations, geographical barriers such as mountains and oceans greatly influence evolution. So, okay. So you can see, like through evolutionary history, the land masses change shape. Okay, it didn't look like this, you know, 50 million before that. Okay, so okay, species distributions. Okay, reveal evolutionary events. That's why, like Africa and South America, for example, were very close to one another at one point, so they constantly drifted across. Okay, so you can also see like Australia and Antarctica were at one point connected. Okay, so we see a lot of fossils from Australia and Antarctica and South America all throughout. Okay. Okay. So biogeography also sheds light on different evolutionary events. This line that you see in screen is called a Wallace Line. The Wallace Line is a very, very deep oceanic trench. Literally, in that line is probably some of the deepest oceans in the world. Okay, and what made that difference is though that line is very hard to cross by sea. Okay, so what happens is animals don't survive crossing that line. So if you come up to this side of the line, okay, you're coming from Asia. If you're coming to the bottom side of the line, you're actually coming from Australia. And, and what makes it even more weird, that the animals from Australia, they used to come from South America and Antarctica. So you see them in common, more in common with those animals than actually the animals from Asia, even though they're literally right next to each other. Okay. Okay. All right. So anatomical relationships can also reveal common descent. So investigators look for anatomical features to determine the evolutionary relationship between two organisms. Okay. All right. Homology demonstrates evolutionary relationships. So homologous structures can develop differently over time. So, like, if you look at all these animals, okay, all these animals are a group of animals called tetrapods. And if you look at their front limbs, I mean, you do the same thing with the back limbs, but the front limbs are more obvious. The front limbs, all of them have one bone here, two bones here, a bunch of little wrist bones, and the fingers. Okay, so one bone, two bone, bunch of little wrist bones, fingers. Okay, even in the fly animals, one bone, two bones, a bunch of little wrist bones, and then fingers. One bone, two bones, a bunch of little wrist bones, fingers. Okay, okay, okay. Vestigial structures have lost their function, so a vestigial structure is homologous to a functional structure in another species. Like, for example, whales, okay, have hips, but that hip is a remnant of limbs. Okay. Okay. So here you have snakes have lost their legs, but they still have residual hind limbs. They have residual eyes in this animal. Okay. Um, and they have uh, humans have appendix, etc. There's tons and tons of these structures. Okay. Okay. So anatomical structures are analogous if they're superficially similar but do not derive from a common ancestor. Okay. Like for example, the gills on the amphibian and the gills on the shrimp are analogous structures. They evolve from different things. Okay. Like the wings on bat and the wings on beetle both allow the animal to fly, but they come from different structures. Okay. Okay. This process is um, okay, convergent evolution, which means certain structures will be selected for in terms of survival in a hot area, like for example, or in a certain area. Like underwater, you need gills of some sort. Okay. In hot, dry environments, you need to have very few leaves and a really thick stalk. Okay. Okay. So the streamlined shapes of dolphins and sharks evolve independently. Okay. So these two are analogous structures. Analogous structures are products of convergent evolution. Okay. Okay. Embryonic development. Okay. Patterns provide evolutionary clues. So anatomical similarities are most obvious in embryos. Okay. So now notice how much more similar the humans and chimpanzee structures look compared to adults. Okay. So like when we're first born, like or better yet, when chimps are first born, they have really flat faces like humans do. Okay. But over evolutionary history, what actually happened was humans actually retained their fetal structure more than chimps. Chimps, their whole face changes as they get old. Okay. This makes a big difference. Okay. Because if you look at this chimp structure, there is much more jaw and much less brain. In the adult human, there's much more brain, there's much less jaw. Okay, that space trade-off leads us to have bigger brains and therefore we're smarter, but we also have crappier teeth and we have teeth problems. Okay, like wisdom teeth problems. Okay. All right. Adult birds, mice, humans have very different bodies. Okay, so but when we look at embryos, they look pretty similar. Okay. Yeah. That's because our genes are actually controlled by homeotic genes. Okay. Okay. These homeotic genes are needed for body structures to develop normally. So small differences in these genes are actually make a big difference. Okay. Mutations in homeotic genes produce dramatic body differences. Okay. So you can see this in a fruit fly right here. Okay. All right. Molecules. So we can use DNA, okay, to compare relatedness. Just like we use DNA to tell, like, the two people are brothers, we can tell similarities between two common ancestors. Okay. Okay. So I'm gonna skip this DNA change thing. Okay. The virus thing. But if the cell's DNA changes, it can produce a new set of proteins. New sets of proteins lead to differences. Okay. And those differences can change over evolutionary time. Okay. So homologous protein sequences demonstrate common descent. Okay. So cytochrome C, for example, is a mitochondrial protein that's expressed in all eukaryotes. The more amino acid sequences between species, the more distant the common ancestor. Okay, so you can see between chimpanzees and monkeys, there's only one. Between monkeys and rabbits, there's 9. Okay, between humans and cows, there's 10. Okay, so more distant relatives, more changes. Okay, and that leads to that rate of change can be turned into a clock. That clock can tell us in two species how long ago they diverged. Okay. Okay. There you go. Okay.